Imagine being able to eat your way to better blood sugar control, where the foods on your plate don't just satisfy your hunger, but actually help keep diabetes in check. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, today I'm going to share with you 5 powerful foods that can do exactly that. These are not complicated, hard to find superfoods that you need to order from some special store. They're everyday foods that you can start adding to your meals right now, and the way they work in your body might surprise you. By the end of this video, you'll not only know what these foods are, but also how to use them in your daily life so that managing diabetes feels less like a struggle and more like a lifestyle you can actually enjoy. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by all the do's and don'ts of eating with diabetes, stick with me, because this might be the simplest and most practical advice you'll hear today. Let's dive into the first food, which is one of my personal favorites and one that science has backed again and again: leafy greens. Think spinach, kale, fenugreek leaves. Now, what makes these green vegetables so special is their incredible nutrient density combined with almost no impact on blood sugar. They're full of vitamins like vitamin C and minerals like magnesium, both of which play an important role in insulin sensitivity. Magnesium, in particular, is like a hidden weapon because many people with diabetes are low in it, and restoring those levels can help the body respond to insulin more effectively. What I love about leafy greens is how versatile they are. You can toss them into a smoothie, make a salad, stir-fry them with garlic, or even sneak them into a soup. The point is, every time you add a handful of greens to your plate, you're giving your body extra support in keeping blood sugar stable. Let's talk about food number 2, which I bet you already have in your kitchen: beans and lentils. These humble legumes are often overlooked, but they're truly amazing when it comes to controlling diabetes. The reason is simple. They're loaded with fiber and plant-based protein. Fiber slows down how fast sugar enters your bloodstream. So instead of experiencing a sudden spike, your blood sugar rises gradually, which is much easier for your body to manage. Think of fiber as a traffic controller, making sure the glucose trickles in smoothly rather than rushing all at once. The protein in beans also helps keep you full for longer, which can naturally cut down cravings for unhealthy snacks. What's great is that beans are affordable, they store well, and they can be prepared in so many different ways. Whether it's a lentil soup, a chickpea curry, or even adding kidney beans to a salad, eating legumes regularly has actually been shown in studies to lower average blood sugar levels, known as HbA1c, which is a huge win if you're managing diabetes long term. Moving on to the third food, and this one often surprises people because they think fruit is off limits for diabetes. But the truth is, berries like blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries are not only safe, they're actually beneficial. Unlike many other sweet fruits, berries are lower in sugar and packed with antioxidants. These antioxidants, especially anthocyanins, help reduce inflammation and improve how your body uses insulin. Plus, the fiber in berries slows down sugar absorption, which means you can enjoy their natural sweetness without the same blood sugar spike you might get from other fruits. I always recommend pairing berries with a source of protein or healthy fat, like a handful of nuts or a spoon of Greek yogurt, because that combination helps balance the effect even more. And let's be honest, who doesn't love a bowl of fresh berries? They feel like a treat, but they're actually working in your favor when it comes to diabetes control. Food number 4 is one that's been making headlines for years now, and for good reason: fatty fish. Salmon, sardines, mackerel. These fish are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which are fantastic for heart health. And since people with diabetes are at a higher risk for heart disease, this is a double win. But omega-3s also reduce inflammation in the body, which is an underlying issue in insulin resistance. On top of that, fish is a great source of high-quality protein, which helps you feel satisfied and supports stable blood sugar after meals. If you don't like fish or don't have access to it, you can also get omega-3s from flax seeds, chia seeds, or walnuts. But fatty fish is really one of the best and most direct sources. Cooking it doesn't have to be fancy either. You can grill it, bake it, or even make a simple fish curry. Just 2 to 3 servings a week can make a noticeable difference in how your body handles blood sugar and overall health. Let's talk about food number 5, which is actually a whole group of foods, nuts, and seeds. Almonds, walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, they all play an important role in diabetes management. Nuts are full of healthy fats, protein, and fiber, which is basically the perfect trio for stabilizing blood sugar. When you eat a handful of nuts as a snack, you're not just avoiding a sugar crash later, you're actively supporting your body's ability to regulate glucose. Seeds like flax and chia also provide plant-based omega-3s and extra fiber, which add even more benefits. I know some people worry about the calories in nuts, but research has shown that moderate nut consumption is actually linked with better weight control, which is key for diabetes too. Instead of reaching for processed snacks, keeping a small container of nuts handy can be a game changer for keeping blood sugar steady throughout the day. Now here's the big picture. When you look at these 5 foods together, what you'll notice is a common theme: fiber, healthy fats, and nutrients that improve insulin sensitivity. That's the golden trio when it comes to diabetes control. And what's beautiful is that you don't have to overhaul your entire diet overnight. You can start small. Add a handful of spinach to your breakfast omelette. Swap your afternoon chips for a small bowl of mixed nuts. Top your yogurt with a few berries. Build your dinner around a serving of fish or lentils. These small, consistent changes add up, and before you know it, they become habits that keep your blood sugar more stable without feeling like you're depriving yourself. I know that managing diabetes can feel overwhelming at times with all the numbers, medications, and restrictions. But food doesn't have to be your enemy. It can be your ally. These 5 foods are not only practical and accessible, but they also taste good and make your meals more enjoyable. Remember, it's not about perfection, it's about consistency. The more often you choose foods that support your health, the more control you'll feel over your diabetes, and the better your energy and well-being will be. As you go about your week, think about where you can fit these foods in. Start with just one change. Maybe today you add greens to lunch. Tomorrow you swap dessert for a handful of berries. It's these little steps that create the momentum toward big results. And if you keep building on them, looking after your blood sugar won't feel like a burden. It'll feel like a lifestyle that keeps you strong, vibrant, and in control. If you found this helpful, make sure you stick around, because I'll be sharing even more practical tips and food strategies in upcoming videos. And let me know in the comments which of these 5 foods you already enjoy and which one you're going to try adding first. Your journey is unique, but you're not alone, and every small step counts. When it comes to managing diabetes, one of the most overlooked yet incredibly powerful strategies is learning the art of healthy snacking. Many people assume that snacking is bad or that it always leads to weight gain, but the truth is that the type of snack and the way it is timed makes all the difference. For people living with diabetes, snacking can either be a hidden trap that causes constant blood sugar spikes or a smart tool that keeps blood sugar levels balanced and energy levels steady throughout the day. The reason snacking is so important is because our bodies are constantly working to maintain glucose balance. And long gaps between meals can sometimes create sudden drops in blood sugar. This can trigger intense hunger, cravings for something sweet or processed, and poor food choices that lead to a rapid spike once you eat. That cycle of crashing and spiking not only makes you feel drained and irritable, but also contributes to long-term complications of diabetes. Healthy snacking, on the other hand, provides your body with slow, steady fuel that prevents those dangerous highs and lows. It's like giving your body a gentle nudge of energy that keeps things flowing smoothly instead of slamming it with a sudden burst of sugar. Now, what exactly qualifies as a healthy snack for diabetes? The golden rule is that a snack should not be purely carbohydrate-based because carbs on their own convert into glucose very quickly and cause spikes. Instead, a good snack combines fiber, protein, and healthy fat to slow down digestion and make sure the release of glucose into the bloodstream is gradual. Think of it as creating a protective barrier around the carbs so they don't rush into your system all at once. For example, instead of eating just an apple, which is healthy but mostly carbs, pair it with a tablespoon of peanut butter or a small handful of almonds. That combination keeps you fuller for longer and drastically reduces the chance of a sugar spike. Similarly, Greek yogurt with a few chia seeds or a small serving of cottage cheese with cucumber slices makes for a snack that is both satisfying and blood sugar friendly. The key is in the combination, not in avoiding snacks altogether. Another important aspect of healthy snacking is portion control. Many people hear that nuts are good for diabetes and then end up eating 2 or 3 handfuls, which can turn into too many calories and disrupt weight management goals. A smart snack is one that is small but nutrient dense, something that satisfies without overloading the system. For example, a 1/4 cup of mixed nuts, 1 boiled egg with a slice of whole grain toast, or a small bowl of roasted chickpeas can keep you satisfied for hours without sending your blood sugar on a roller coaster ride. Paying attention to portion sizes means you are getting the benefit of stable glucose without accidentally going in the opposite direction. Timing also matters when we talk about healthy snacking. For someone with diabetes, going too long without food can cause blood sugar dips, while snacking too frequently can make it harder for the body to manage glucose consistently. The sweet spot is usually a small snack between meals, especially if the gap between lunch and dinner or breakfast and lunch is more than 4 or 5 hours. Having something smart in between prevents you from overeating at the next meal and keeps your blood sugar steady. It's also useful to have a balanced snack before or after exercise because physical activity can change how your body uses glucose, and the right snack helps maintain energy levels. For instance, a banana with a spoon of almond butter before a workout gives sustained energy, while a boiled egg and some vegetable sticks afterward help stabilize post-exercise glucose. The psychology of snacking also plays a role in managing diabetes. Often, cravings are not really about hunger, but about emotions, stress, or boredom. Reaching for cookies or chips in those moments is what causes the real problem, not the act of snacking itself. Training yourself to pause and ask, am I actually hungry or just craving, can make a huge difference. If you are truly hungry, that's the perfect time for a healthy, balanced snack. If it's just a craving, sometimes having a glass of water, taking a short walk, or chewing sugar, free gum can reset the brain. Over time, the more often you replace unhealthy choices with nourishing snacks, the easier it becomes to break free from the cycle of emotional eating that often worsens diabetes control. Another benefit of healthy snacking is that it supports weight management, which is closely tied to better diabetes outcomes. When you give your body steady fuel throughout the day, your metabolism works more efficiently, you avoid the highs and lows of extreme hunger, and you naturally make better decisions at mealtimes. Compare two people, one who skips snacks and ends up so hungry at dinner that they overeat rice, bread, or sweets, and another who had a small portion of nuts and fruit mid-afternoon, which kept their hunger steady. The second person is far more likely to make a balanced plate at dinner instead of overloading on carbs. This shows how powerful a simple snack can be in shaping the bigger picture of diabetes management. Science also supports the role of healthy snacking in reducing complications. Studies show that diets rich in fiber, healthy fats, and protein lead to improved insulin sensitivity and better HbA1c levels over time. Snacks that include whole foods like vegetables, nuts, yogurt, or legumes provide not just blood sugar stability, but also essential nutrients that reduce inflammation, improve cholesterol, and protect heart health. Since people with diabetes are at higher risk for heart disease, choosing snacks that double up on heart protection and blood sugar control is a smart move. For example, walnuts provide omega-3 fatty acids, which are good for the heart, while also slowing digestion and reducing blood sugar fluctuations. The environment you create around snacking also makes a difference. If your kitchen is filled with chips, cookies, and sugary drinks, then even with the best intentions, it becomes hard to resist. But if you stock your fridge and pantry with healthy options like pre-cut vegetables, hummus, boiled eggs, roasted chickpeas, low-fat yogurt, or portioned bags of nuts, then the healthy choice becomes the easy choice. Preparation is everything when it comes to snacking because most unhealthy decisions happen in moments of hurry or fatigue. If you already have a healthy option ready, you'll be far less likely to grab something that spikes your blood sugar. One more angle to consider is how healthy snacking can actually bring variety and enjoyment back into eating with diabetes. Many people feel restricted or deprived because they think they have to give up all their favorite foods. But snacking gives you the opportunity to experiment with new flavors and combinations without overindulging. For instance, you can try avocado on whole grain crackers, roasted pumpkin seeds with a sprinkle of spice, or even a small piece of dark chocolate paired with almonds. These feel like treats, but when portioned and balanced properly, they actually help keep your blood sugar in control. That sense of enjoyment is critical because when you feel satisfied and not deprived, you're more likely to stick with a healthy eating plan long-term. Cultural and personal preferences should also guide your snacking choices. In some parts of the world, snacks might mean roasted lentils, spiced chickpeas, or fresh fruit with yogurt, while in others it could mean trail mix, cheese sticks, or nut butter with celery. The good news is that almost every cuisine has traditional snack options that can be adapted for diabetes simply by paying attention to portion size and balance. The idea is not to force yourself into eating foods you don't enjoy, but to work within your cultural and personal taste preferences to create snacks that feel natural and satisfying while still supporting your health goals. When we talk about diabetes management, most people instantly think about diet, exercise, and medication, but there's a very important factor that often gets overlooked, and that's stress. Stress has a direct impact on blood sugar levels, and yet many people don't fully realize how much of a difference it makes. Stress is not just something that affects the mind. It changes the way the body works on a biological level. When you feel stressed, whether it's from work pressure, family issues, financial worries, or even small daily frustrations, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones trigger a natural response, often called the fight or flight response. What happens during this process is that your body releases stored glucose into the bloodstream to give you quick energy to either fight the danger or run from it. Now, the problem is that most modern stress isn't physical danger. It's psychological pressure. You're not burning off that extra glucose by running from a wild animal or lifting something heavy. You're usually just sitting at your desk, driving in traffic, or lying awake at night worrying. That means the glucose builds up in your bloodstream, causing blood sugar spikes, which for someone with diabetes can be extremely harmful over time. Chronic stress also makes your cells less sensitive to insulin, which means your body struggles even more to move that glucose from the blood into the cells, where it can be used for energy. This condition is known as insulin resistance, and it is one of the central challenges of diabetes. The more stressed you are, the more your body resists insulin, and the harder it becomes to keep blood sugar under control, even if you're eating right and taking your medication. That's why stress management is not just about feeling calmer or happier. It's literally about giving your body the chance to use insulin properly and keep blood sugar stable. For many people, simply learning how to lower stress can lead to noticeable improvements in their glucose readings, and that makes stress management a tool just as important as what you put on your plate or how often you move your body. Now, one of the first steps in managing stress is becoming aware of it. A lot of us go through the day in a state of constant tension without even noticing how stressed we are. You might wake up already worried about the day, rush through meals, multitask, and never give yourself a moment to pause. This constant low-level stress may not feel as intense as a major crisis, but it has the same effect on blood sugar over time. That's why practices that bring awareness, like mindfulness, meditation, or simply checking in with your breath a few times a day, can be so powerful. By pausing for just a couple of minutes and breathing deeply, you activate the body's relaxation response, which is the opposite of the stress response. This lowers cortisol, helps regulate heart rate, and over time makes your body more balanced. Exercise is another incredible stress management tool that directly benefits people with diabetes. When you move your body, whether it's walking, yoga, dancing, or weight training, your muscles use glucose for energy, which helps lower blood sugar. At the same time, exercise triggers the release of endorphins, the feel-good hormones that naturally reduce stress. This means you get a double benefit. You're physically lowering blood sugar while also calming your mind and releasing tension. Even something as simple as a 10-minute walk after a stressful phone call can make a big difference. What's important is consistency. Making movement a part of your daily life ensures that stress doesn't pile up inside your body, but instead gets released regularly. Another layer to stress and diabetes is how stress influences behavior. When people are stressed, they're more likely to skip exercise, overeat, or reach for comfort foods that are high in sugar and fat. Stress can make it harder to sleep, and poor sleep itself raises blood sugar levels and increases cravings for unhealthy foods. This creates a cycle where stress not only raises blood sugar directly through hormones, but also indirectly through the habits it triggers. Recognizing this cycle is crucial because it shows that learning to manage stress is also about protecting yourself from making decisions that make diabetes harder to control. If you've ever noticed yourself eating cookies or chips late at night because you felt overwhelmed, you've experienced how stress can hijack your self-control. Developing healthier coping strategies like journaling, going for a walk, calling a supportive friend, or even practicing a relaxation technique can break that cycle and keep you on track. Sleep is another key piece of the stress puzzle. When you're stressed, sleep often becomes shallow or disrupted. You might have trouble falling asleep, wake up multiple times, or wake up too early in the morning. Lack of quality sleep increases cortisol, raises blood sugar, and reduces insulin sensitivity. It also makes you feel more irritable and less able to handle daily challenges, which means you feel even more stressed. Prioritizing good sleep hygiene, like setting a consistent bedtime, avoiding screens before bed, and creating a calm environment, helps reduce stress naturally and improves blood sugar control. Even practices like gentle stretching or deep breathing before bed can relax the body and prepare it for better rest. Nutrition also plays a role in stress management. While food is not a cure for stress, certain choices can make stress worse or easier to handle. For instance, caffeine and sugary snacks may give you a temporary burst of energy when you're stressed, but they quickly lead to crashes that leave you feeling more anxious and irritable. On the other hand, foods rich in magnesium, like leafy greens, nuts, and seeds, help relax muscles and calm the nervous system. Omega-3 fatty acids from fish or flax seeds reduce inflammation and support brain health, making you more resilient to stress. Drinking enough water also matters because dehydration can increase cortisol levels and mimic feelings of stress. Thinking of food as fuel not just for the body, but for the mind can help you choose snacks and meals that keep you calmer and more balanced during stressful times. Breathing techniques are one of the simplest yet most powerful tools for stress management, and they're free and accessible to everyone. Deep breathing exercises slow down the nervous system and tell the body that it's safe, which lowers cortisol and reduces blood sugar spikes caused by stress. Even taking 5 slow breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, can shift the body out of the fight or flight mode. Over time, practicing this regularly trains your body to respond differently to stress. Instead of automatically going into panic mode, you build the ability to stay calmer and more in control. Some people use apps to guide them through breathing exercises, while others simply pause a few times a day to breathe deeply. It may sound too simple, but the science behind it is powerful. Another aspect that often gets overlooked is social support. Humans are social creatures, and having supportive relationships plays a huge role in managing stress. When you share your worries with someone who understands or listens, your body actually reduces stress hormone levels. For people with diabetes, having a support system can also mean practical help with healthy eating, encouragement to stay active, and emotional comfort during difficult days. On the other hand, isolation and loneliness increase stress and can make it harder to manage health. That's why staying connected, whether through family, friends, community groups, or even online support communities, is not just good for your mental health, it's a direct strategy for keeping diabetes under control. It's also important to recognize the role of mindset in stress management. The way you think about challenges influences how stressed you feel. If every obstacle feels like a disaster, your body will stay in a constant state of alarm. But if you view challenges as temporary or as opportunities to learn, your body responds with less stress. This doesn't mean ignoring problems, but rather shifting the perspective from panic to problem solving. For people with diabetes, this mindset shift can be the difference between feeling trapped by the condition and feeling empowered to manage it. Accepting that stress will always be part of life, but that you have tools to handle it is one of the most freeing realizations you can have. Lastly, relaxation practices such as yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, or even spending time in nature can provide profound benefits. These practices combine physical movement, controlled breathing, and mental focus, which together lower stress hormones, improve mood, and enhance insulin sensitivity. Even a few minutes of meditation a day can create measurable changes in how the brain responds to stress. Nature itself has been shown to reduce cortisol. Just taking a walk in a park, sitting by a river, or tending to plants in a garden can calm the nervous system. In today's busy world, intentionally making time for stillness or slow activities can feel difficult, but the payoff in reduced stress and better blood sugar control is significant. One of the most practical and natural ways to support your body in managing blood sugar is something that often gets overlooked. Yet it requires no equipment, no special training, and no extra cost, and that is simply moving your body after meals. For people living with diabetes, or even those at risk of developing it, the period right after eating is one of the most critical times when blood sugar levels can rise sharply. When you eat, especially a meal that contains carbohydrates, your body breaks down those carbs into glucose, which then enters the bloodstream. This rise in glucose signals your pancreas to release insulin, the hormone that helps move glucose into cells so it can be used for energy. The challenge is that for people with diabetes, this process doesn't work as smoothly because the body either doesn't produce enough insulin or the cells don't respond well to it. That means glucose stays in the blood longer, leading to higher post-meal spikes. Research has shown that these spikes, even if they don't last long, contribute significantly to long-term complications like heart disease, kidney damage, and nerve issues. But here's where movement comes in, because physical activity directly encourages your muscles to absorb glucose, and it does so independently of insulin. That means that when you move after a meal, your muscles pull glucose out of the blood and use it for energy, reducing those dangerous spikes and making it easier for your body to maintain balance. The beauty of this approach is how simple it is. We're not talking about going to the gym for an intense workout after every meal, but rather light to moderate activity that engages the muscles. Something as basic as a 10 to 20 minute walk after eating can make a measurable difference in blood sugar readings. Studies have consistently shown that people who take short walks after meals have lower glucose levels compared to those who remain sedentary. The timing is important because the body begins to absorb glucose from food within minutes of eating, so the earlier you move, the quicker you interrupt the spike. Think of it as giving your body a gentle helping hand right when it needs it most. Instead of leaving insulin to do all the work, you're activating your muscles to share the load, and this creates a more stable glucose response. This approach is not just about lowering numbers on a meter, it's also about how you feel in daily life. Post-meal spikes are often followed by crashes that leave you tired, sluggish, and craving more food, usually something sugary or starchy. By moving after a meal, you can avoid that crash, which means better energy, improved mood, and fewer cravings. Many people notice that when they make walking after meals a habit, they no longer feel that heavy, sleepy sensation that often comes after lunch or dinner. Instead, they feel lighter and more alert, which improves productivity, focus, and overall quality of life. Over time, these small differences add up, not just in improved glucose control, but in how enjoyable and sustainable your lifestyle feels. It's also worth noting that movement after meals is highly adaptable to different lifestyles and preferences. For some people, that might mean a short walk around the neighborhood or even inside the house. For others, it could mean light household chores like tidying up, washing dishes, or gardening. Gentle yoga stretches, or even standing up and moving around while talking on the phone can serve the same purpose. The point is not to treat it like a workout session, but to avoid prolonged sitting after eating. Our modern lifestyles often encourage us to sit down after meals, whether it's watching TV, scrolling on the phone, or going straight back to work. But that's exactly the moment when a little movement would help the most. Creating a new routine where finishing a meal naturally leads into some form of light movement can become a powerful diabetes management tool. Different types of movement can have slightly different effects on glucose response. Walking is the most studied and accessible, but resistance-based movements like bodyweight squats, calf raises, or light strength training can also help because they activate large muscle groups that draw in glucose. Some studies suggest that alternating between short bursts of activity and light walking can improve glucose levels even more. For example, doing 2 minutes of gentle bodyweight exercises followed by 5 minutes of walking creates a varied muscle engagement that enhances glucose uptake. The key is to experiment with what feels comfortable and enjoyable, because consistency is more important than intensity. A moderate routine that you stick to daily will provide more benefit than an intense workout you only manage once in a while. One fascinating aspect of post-meal movement is how effective it can be for people who don't have a lot of time for structured exercise. Many people struggle to find a 30 or 60-minute block in their day for exercise, but finding 10 minutes after each meal is often much more manageable. 3 short walks after meals can be just as beneficial, if not more, than 1 long walk during the day when it comes to blood sugar control. This breaks down the barrier of "I don't have time to exercise" and replaces it with a practical, doable habit that fits naturally into the rhythm of daily life. It turns movement into a lifestyle rather than an extra task, and that's what makes it sustainable over the long term. Movement after meals is also a great tool for weight management, which is another crucial factor in diabetes control. By reducing post-meal glucose spikes, you also reduce the amount of insulin your body needs to release. Since insulin is a storage hormone that promotes fat storage when present in high amounts, lowering spikes means less fat accumulation over time. Additionally, by avoiding crashes and cravings, you're less likely to reach for extra snacks and empty calories. All of this supports a healthier weight, which further improves insulin sensitivity and glucose management. It's a positive cycle where small amounts of movement set off a chain of benefits that extend far beyond the immediate blood sugar response. Another layer to this is how movement interacts with digestion. Light activity after eating can actually improve digestion by stimulating the muscles in your digestive tract, which helps food move along more smoothly. This reduces discomfort, bloating, and indigestion, which are common complaints, especially after heavier meals. It's one of the reasons why in many cultures, a walk after dinner is a traditional practice. People may not have known the scientific explanation centuries ago, but they recognize the benefits in how it made them feel. Today, we have the research to show exactly why it works, but the wisdom has been there all along. This makes the practice not only scientifically sound, but also culturally supported, which can help make it easier to adopt in daily life. For people who monitor their blood sugar at home, the effects of post-meal movement can be seen almost immediately. Many notice that when they check their glucose an hour after eating, the numbers are significantly lower on days they move compared to days they sit still. This creates a tangible sense of control because instead of feeling like blood sugar spikes are inevitable, you have a simple tool to reduce them. That sense of empowerment is incredibly motivating and encourages people to keep going with the habit. Over weeks and months, this consistent reduction in spikes leads to better long-term glucose markers like HbA1c, which reflects average blood sugar over 3 months. This means that the benefits aren't just short-term, but accumulate into lasting improvements in diabetes outcomes. There's also a mental health component to consider. Exercise of any kind, including light movement after meals, is known to reduce stress, anxiety, and depression by releasing endorphins and calming the nervous system. For people with diabetes, stress management is an important part of keeping blood sugar stable because stress hormones can also raise glucose. That means movement after meals provides a dual benefit. It lowers glucose directly through muscle activity and indirectly by reducing stress hormones. It also creates a mindful break in the day, where instead of rushing from one task to another, you give yourself permission to slow down, move, and breathe. This can have a profound effect on how balanced and calm you feel, which further supports better decision making around food and lifestyle. Accessibility is another reason this strategy is so powerful. Unlike structured exercise programs that require equipment, gym memberships, or specific skills, movement after meals can be done by almost anyone, regardless of fitness level. For older adults or those with mobility issues, even standing up and doing light stretches or slowly walking around the house provides benefit. For those who are more active, it can be an opportunity to add variety with light strength work, resistance bands, or gentle cycling. The point is that this strategy can be tailored to the individual, making it inclusive and sustainable. No matter your age, fitness level, or location, you can find a way to move after meals that supports your glucose response. Another important point is how family or social routines can support this habit. If you live with others, turning post-meal walks into a shared activity can strengthen relationships while improving health. Walking with your spouse, children, or friends after dinner becomes a bonding ritual that you look forward to, rather than just a health chore. This social component increases consistency because when an activity is enjoyable and shared, you're far more likely to keep doing it. For families with a history of diabetes, making this a household routine can have preventative benefits for everyone, not just those already diagnosed. Cultural habits also intersect with this idea. In some traditions, rest after meals is encouraged, but others have long emphasized walking or light activity. In Mediterranean cultures, for example, strolling after dinner is a common practice, while in parts of Asia, Tai Chi or light stretching after meals has been incorporated into daily life. These cultural practices align perfectly with modern scientific findings, showing how deeply rooted and universally beneficial post-meal movement really is. Adapting cultural traditions to emphasize this habit can make it easier for people to adopt without feeling like they're doing something foreign or forced. Technology can also play a role in supporting this habit. Fitness trackers, step counters, or even simple reminders on your phone can encourage you to get up and move after meals. Some people set a timer for 10 minutes after eating to prompt themselves to walk or stretch. Others find motivation in tracking their steps and aiming to add a few hundred steps after each meal. For those using continuous glucose monitors, the feedback is even more direct. because you can see how movement affects your blood sugar in real time. This creates a powerful link between action and outcome, reinforcing the value of the habit. When people think about diabetes management, the first things that usually come to mind are diet, exercise, and medications. But there is another pillar of health that has a massive impact on blood sugar and insulin sensitivity, and that's sleep. Sleep is often treated like a luxury or something we sacrifice when life gets busy. But in reality, it is one of the most powerful regulators of how well our body uses glucose. When you don't sleep enough or your sleep is poor in quality, your body pays the price in ways you may not even realize. Studies have shown that even a single night of inadequate sleep can reduce insulin sensitivity the next day, meaning your cells become less responsive to insulin and your blood sugar stays higher than normal. Over time, if poor sleep becomes a habit, it can lead to chronic insulin resistance, higher fasting glucose, and increased risk of developing or worsening type 2 diabetes. What makes sleep so fascinating is that it is not just about rest for the brain. It is about allowing the entire body to reset, repair, and regulate hormones that control appetite, stress, and glucose metabolism. Without good sleep, even the best diet and exercise routines may not deliver their full benefits. One of the hidden mechanisms behind sleep and insulin sensitivity lies in the hormones that govern hunger and fullness. Sleep deprivation alters the balance of leptin and ghrelin, two hormones that control appetite. Ghrelin, the hunger hormone, increases when you don't get enough sleep, while leptin, the satiety hormone, decreases. This double effect makes you hungrier and less satisfied by the food you eat, often leading to overeating and cravings for high carbohydrate, sugary foods. These foods then contribute to higher blood sugar levels, which become even harder to manage because of the reduced insulin sensitivity that comes from lack of sleep. This creates a vicious cycle where poor sleep leads to overeating, which leads to glucose spikes, which can then disturb sleep even further. Breaking this cycle starts with recognizing how critical sleep quality is to metabolic health and treating it as a non-negotiable part of diabetes care. Cortisol, the stress hormone, also plays a major role in this relationship. Poor or insufficient sleep raises cortisol levels, and elevated cortisol makes it harder for insulin to do its job. High cortisol encourages the liver to release more glucose into the bloodstream, which may have been useful for survival in stressful situations in the past, but in today's world of chronic stress and sleep deprivation, it just means persistently high blood sugar. If you've ever noticed that your fasting glucose is higher after a night of restless or short sleep, cortisol is often a major reason why. The body interprets lack of sleep as a stressor, and in response, it tries to prepare you for action by flooding you with glucose. Instead of helping, it ends up creating the exact opposite outcome you want if you're trying to manage diabetes. Learning to improve sleep quality, therefore, is not just about feeling refreshed in the morning. It's about lowering cortisol and creating a hormonal environment where insulin can work properly. The timing of sleep also matters. Our bodies run on a circadian rhythm, an internal 24-hour clock that regulates when we feel awake and when we feel sleepy. This rhythm also controls how hormones like insulin are released. Disrupting this natural cycle, such as staying up late into the night, sleeping at irregular hours, or working night shifts, has been shown to reduce insulin sensitivity and impair glucose tolerance. People who consistently sleep out of alignment with their circadian rhythm often face greater challenges in managing diabetes. Aligning sleep with natural light and dark cycles, waking up with daylight and sleeping during the night, helps synchronize hormones and improves glucose regulation. Even if you get the same number of hours of sleep, going to bed at 2 a.m. and waking up at 10 a.m. may not have the same positive effect on insulin sensitivity as sleeping from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. because of the circadian influence. Quality is just as important as quantity when it comes to sleep. You might spend 8 hours in bed, but still wake up tired if the sleep was fragmented, shallow, or disrupted. Deep sleep stages are especially important for restoring insulin sensitivity and regulating glucose metabolism. During deep sleep, the body repairs tissues, releases growth hormone, and resets many systems, including those involved in glucose control. Sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, frequent awakenings, or even just poor sleep habits like keeping a phone by the bed can prevent you from reaching enough deep sleep. People with untreated sleep apnea, for example, often struggle with insulin resistance because their bodies never get that restorative phase of sleep. Treating underlying sleep disorders or creating an environment that promotes uninterrupted deep sleep can dramatically improve blood sugar control. The connection between sleep and insulin sensitivity also shows up in weight management. Poor sleep is linked with weight gain, particularly an increase in abdominal fat, which is closely associated with insulin resistance. When you're tired, your body tends to conserve energy, making you less likely to exercise and more likely to reach for quick sources of energy like refined carbs and sugary snacks. This not only raises blood sugar, but also contributes to weight gain, which further reduces insulin sensitivity. On the other hand, improving sleep quality supports weight loss efforts, reduces cravings, and improves energy, which makes it easier to stick with healthy routines. It's like unlocking an extra tool for weight and diabetes management that many people overlook because they focus only on food and exercise. Another hidden effect of poor sleep is its impact on the immune system and inflammation. Chronic sleep deprivation increases inflammation in the body, and inflammation itself reduces insulin sensitivity. Elevated inflammatory markers have been observed in people with both poor sleep and poor glucose control, creating another link between these two issues. Inflammation also contributes to complications of diabetes, such as cardiovascular disease and neuropathy. By prioritizing sleep, you're not only improving insulin sensitivity directly, but also reducing the underlying inflammation that makes blood sugar harder to manage and increases long-term risks. Sleep hygiene, the set of habits and routines you practice around sleep, plays a massive role in determining how restorative your sleep is. Things like avoiding screens before bed, keeping the bedroom dark and cool, limiting caffeine and heavy meals in the evening, and creating a calming bedtime ritual all contribute to better quality sleep. Many people underestimate how much these small changes matter, but they can shift the body from a state of restlessness into a state of deep restorative rest. Consistency is key, because the body thrives on routine. Going to bed and waking up at the same time every day trains your internal clock, making it easier to fall asleep quickly and stay asleep. The role of naps is also worth exploring. Short naps of 20 to 30 minutes can help reduce stress and improve alertness without interfering with nighttime sleep. For someone managing diabetes, a nap may help reduce cortisol and reset the nervous system during a stressful day. However, long or late naps can disrupt circadian rhythms and reduce sleep quality at night, so they need to be approached with balance. Paying attention to how your body responds can help determine whether naps are helpful or counterproductive in your routine. Technology can be both a help and a hindrance when it comes to sleep and insulin sensitivity. On one hand, constant exposure to screens and blue light at night tricks the brain into thinking it's still daytime, delaying the release of melatonin, the sleep hormone. On the other hand, technology like sleep trackers, smartwatches, or apps can provide valuable insight into sleep patterns and encourage better habits. For people managing diabetes, pairing sleep tracking with blood sugar monitoring can reveal patterns that show just how much sleep quality influences glucose readings. For instance, you might notice that mornings after fragmented sleep are the ones where your fasting glucose is the highest. This awareness can make improving sleep a higher priority once you see its measurable effect. Sleep and mental health are deeply connected and both tie back to diabetes control. Anxiety, depression, and stress often disturb sleep, and poor sleep worsens mental health, creating a cycle that is hard to break. Since stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline raise blood sugar, poor mental health combined with poor sleep can create major obstacles to glucose control. Strategies like relaxation exercises, mindfulness meditation journaling, or counseling can improve both sleep quality and emotional well-being, leading to more stable insulin sensitivity. Recognizing the emotional component of sleep is crucial because you can't always separate the mind from the body. Supporting mental health is another indirect but powerful way to improve glucose management through better sleep. There's also an interesting connection between chronotypes, whether you're a morning person or a night owl, and diabetes risk. People who naturally stay up late and sleep late often face greater challenges with insulin sensitivity compared to early risers, even when sleep duration is the same. This is partly because modern society is structured around early schedules, which means night owls often accumulate sleep debt or misalignment between their natural rhythm and social obligations. Over time, this misalignment disrupts circadian rhythms, leading to poorer glucose control. While you can't completely change your chronotype, gradually shifting bedtime earlier, limiting late night screen use, and aligning eating patterns with daylight hours can help reduce the negative effects. Fasting glucose levels are especially sensitive to sleep quality. Many people notice that after a poor night's sleep, their fasting numbers are significantly higher the next morning, even if their food intake was the same. This is because poor sleep not only increases cortisol, but also reduces overnight insulin sensitivity. The body essentially becomes less efficient at regulating glucose during the night, leading to higher readings upon waking. Improving sleep can directly lower fasting glucose, which is one of the most stubborn and frustrating numbers for many people with diabetes. This highlights how impactful sleep is, even beyond meals or exercise.